Good morning, learners. Welcome to Lesson 15, Session 2. Remember, we were working on multiplying to find area, so today we are going to develop multiplying to find area. Read and try to solve the problem below. What is the area of the rectangle? If you need to pause for a minute and see what you can do to solve that. How would you solve this if you needed to find an answer? Okay, now that you're back, did you get 8? Our area equals 8 square centimeters. I gotta make sure I write it like third graders write it. Okay, 8 square centimeters. Now remember, we can't have naked numbers, so you gotta tell me what the unit is. And notice that we have centimeters. And when we do multiplication, we call them square centimeters. Okay, so how did you do this? Did you visualize it first? Or did you use multiplication? Or maybe you used a method that's not here. But as long as you have a method that gets you to 8 square centimeters, you have a method that works. So if you were visualizing it, could you kind of see in your head the squares that we've been talking about? Notice that this is 2 centimeters. So in my head, I kind of sketched my 2 rows, because remember, this is rows. Rows go horizontal. So I kind of in my mind sketched that there were 2 rows here. What does this 4 tell us? This 4 is the length. And remember, this also tells us the number of columns, how many columns there are. So if I have a length of 4, that means I have 4 columns here. So I can kind of sketch that in. So I can see that in my head. And that's what I talk about when I visualize. When I can see something happening in my head, even though it's not actually in the picture. So I have my width, which is 2 rows, and I have my length, which is 4 columns. So now that I visualize that, I probably can better understand why I can use multiplication. So remember, in multiplication, there were a couple of things that we talked about. We learned that length times width is the same thing as the area. So my length is, what is my length? That's right, it's 4. What is my width? It's 2. So that equals an area of 8 square centimeters. It's kind of like saying I have 4 groups of 2. Okay, so if you don't have a method here, go ahead and make the method that you like. Did you like being able to visualize it and break it up into our square units? Or are you getting the hang of multiplication? Okay, once you're done, let's turn to page 320. Explore different ways to understand multiplying to find area. What is the area of the rectangle? Okay, we already talked about this on the back side. Okay, picture it. You can use square tiles to find area. The model below shows the rectangle covered by 1 centimeter squares. It's kind of the visualizing that we just did. Remember, we kind of sketched in that the width of 2 means that there are 2 rows. And our length of 4 meant there were 4 columns. Once you kind of visualize and sketch those in, we can just count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the area of our rectangle is 8 centimeters squared, or square centimeters. Okay, how about modeling it? You can also use a multiplication equation to find area. The length of the rectangle is 4 centimeters. Remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. Using 1 centimeter squares, 4 squares will fill a row. The width of the rectangle is 2 centimeters. Remember, 1, 2. Using 1 centimeter squares, 2 squares fill up the column. So this column has 2 squares. This row has 4 squares. We multiply the length and width to find the area of the rectangle. So this is our length. I'm just going to put an L for length times, I'm going to put a W for width. So my length times my width is 4 times 2. I'm actually giving you guys, I'm treating you guys like big kids, because we don't actually write out length times width in upper grades. We use a simpler method. We just say the length, that's a cursive L, times the width. So instead of having to write all the big words, I just take my length, which is L, and my width, which is W, and that's how I write my formula. So now you guys can actually do math like a 5th or 6th grader. Awesome job. Okay, let's go ahead and turn the paper over. Now we're going to do our connect it. Now you will use the problem from the previous page to help you understand how to multiply to find area. How many 1 centimeter squares fit along the length of the rectangle? Do you guys remember? What was the length? It was 4. There were 4, notice right here, there were 4 squares that fit the length. What is the length of the rectangle? It was 4 centimeters. How many 1 centimeter squares fit along the width of the rectangle? Okay, how many fit on the width? Remember, 1, 2. There were 2 that fit along the width. So what is the width of the rectangle? It is 2 centimeters. What does the problem ask you to find? Do you remember? Go back and check. What is it asking? It is asking you to find area. The unit of measurement for the length and width of a rectangle is centimeters. What is the unit of measurement for the area? Remember, when we find area, we don't just say centimeters anymore. What did we write as our unit? Remember, we didn't want naked numbers. What did we do? We did it on the first page. Let's go back to the first page. What did we write? That's right, we used square. So let's go ahead and write that. The unit of measurement for area is square units. Oh, but remember, they gave us centimeters. So in this case, I don't need to use units because I know that it's centimeters. Square centimeters. See, even I make mistakes sometimes. That's okay, we just fix it. Okay, complete the equation below to find the area of the rectangle. What was the length? Right, it's right here. It was 4. Times the width. What was the width again? It was 2. 4 times 2 is, you're right, 8. The area of the rectangle is 8 square centimeters. Okay, explain how you can use square tiles or multiplication to find the area of a rectangle. Go ahead and pause the video and write down, what would you do to find area of a rectangle? Okay, if you come back, there's one, you can multiply the length times the width. What else can you do? Anyone else have something different? Right, you can multiply rows by columns. Oops, and did anyone talk about you could skip count or you could visualize? You can still do those too. But we're going to be working on moving to multiplication. Okay, look back at the try it, the strategies we've talked about, the picture it, the model it. Which model or strategy do you like best for multiplying to find the area of a rectangle? Which method did you like better? Did you like visualizing it? Did you like using multiplication? How did you solve this? Go ahead and pause and write it, and then turn the page to 322. Now we're going to do apply it. Use what you just learned to solve these problems. What is the area of the square? Show your work. Okay, in order to find the area, let's go ahead and label. In order to find area, what are the two things we need to know? In order to find area, what are the two pieces of information we need? That's right, we need the length and we need the width. If you need to, practice saying those. Where is the length and where is the width? We've learned that this is the length, right? This is the length. And where is the width? Right, we've learned that this is width. So how would you write our multiplication problem? Now remember, I told you we can act like big kids and we can write area as A. We can write length as an L times width as a W. Okay, so let's plug in our numbers. Let's substitute our numbers in. What is the length of our square? You're right, it is 3. What is the width? It is also 3. Okay, so what is our area? 3 groups of 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Nice job. Okay, now when we write our answer, 9, what are we going to write after it? If you said square units, you're right. They told us units. And whenever we're talking about area, since we've multiplied by 2 numbers, they become square units. Okay, number 10. Shay has a rectangle that is 5 centimeters long. The area of the rectangle is 10 square centimeters. What is the width of the rectangle? Show your work. Ooh, this is a longer word problem. I kind of have to do more than one read. What's this one about? You're right, it is about Shay and she has a rectangle. Now, since it is about a rectangle, I'm going to sketch it. Remember, I'm all about drawing pictures. I'm going to draw my rectangle. And now I'm going to read it again and figure out what numbers I need to solve the problem. Shay has a rectangle here that is 5 centimeters long. The area of the rectangle is 10 square meters. What is the width of the rectangle? Show your work. What did they tell us? What numbers are important? Right, it is 5 centimeters long. Where would I put that in my rectangle? Go ahead and sketch it on your rectangle. Right, it is 5 centimeters. Here is my length. Right, 5 is my length. What else do they tell us? They tell us that the area is equal to 10. It's equal to 10 square centimeters. Okay, I'm going to show you also centimeters. As big kids, we write that as cm, centimeter, centimeter. Cm means centimeter. Okay, so there are 10 squares in here. This is 10. I know that my length is 5. What else do I need to know to find area? I do need to know the width. Do we know the width? Let's read it again. Shay has a rectangle that is 5 centimeters long. The area of the rectangle is 10 centimeters, square centimeters. What is the width of the rectangle? We don't know this. Well, how are we going to solve this? Well, whenever I'm stuck and don't know what to do, I make sure I have my picture and then I write down what I do know. I do know that my area is equal to length times the width. Now I substitute in what I do know. What do I know? I know that area is 10. So I know that this answer is 10. What else do I know? We know the length. What do I not know? I don't know the width. So 10 is the same thing as 5 times something. Or let's say it the other way around. 5 times something is 10. What number goes here? You're right, it is 2 centimeters. Did anyone think about division? Remember, this is our fact family here. I know that 10 divided by 5 will give me this answer. And what is that answer? It's 2. So there is a couple of ways to do this one. You can just think about what's missing, or you can think about the fact family and write it as a division problem. Okay, if you need to, make sure you have this understood. If you need to stop and rewind and listen to this again, because you're going to have problems like this and you're going to want to be able to solve them. Okay, number 11. A rectangle has a length of 8 inches and a width of 6 inches. What is the area of the rectangle? Show your work. Okay, what's the first thing we should do? Let's draw a rectangle, because it's about a rectangle. Okay, let's read again and get our information. A rectangle has a length of 8 inches and a width of 6 inches. What is the area of the rectangle? Okay, length of 8 inches, where does that go? You should label it right down here. Where does the 6 inches go? You're right, it's here, 6 inches. Now, what is the area of a rectangle? Does anyone remember the equation? If you know the equation, write it down. You can even use my abbreviations. Remember, area equals what? Length times width. Okay, now that we have our equation, what do we need to do? We need to substitute our numbers in. Now, what is the length? It's 8. What is the width? It's 6. Okay, what's 6 times 8? Right, if you need to have a chart, a multiplication chart, I had one. Here we go. Okay, so I have my 6, right? 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 8 is 48. Make sure that if you have time at home right now, make sure you're practicing your multiplication facts. You guys could even use like playing cards and do multiplication more. Okay, so our solution, I got 48, but can I just write the number 48? No. Remember, no naked numbers. What do I have 48 of? I don't have 48 puppy dogs. I don't have 48 kitty cats or 48 lemons. What do I have 48 of? I have 48 square inches. Remember, once we have multiplied our two numbers, we need to use the word square. 48 square inches. Okay, so now it is time to do the practice. Practice, remember it's the green sheet, it's page 323. If you need to, read through the example carefully, then go ahead and solve as many as you can on your own. If you make mistakes, that's okay, because you can come back and watch video number 2 and I will go over the solutions. Okay, mathematicians, you got this.